So now we're going to get into another book in the Bible during this time, the Babylonian exiles, the Book of Esther. I really love this book. It's kind of like, reminds me of Cinderella-ish. I mean, it's a little more violent than Cinderella because people actually get killed in it, but story of a princess and saving the kingdom, and it just reminds me kind of Cinderella. Now, this is several thousand years old, so if anything, this didn't copy from Cinderella, it's the other way around. Maybe Cinderella copied some stuff from here, but it just reminds me of it. And I really think, it's a true story. It's in the Bible. It's true. It happened. But I really enjoy this. I teach Sunday school classes, and the kids really love hearing about Esther. So the book of Esther takes place during the time the Israelites are exiled in the immediate Persian kingdom. Israelites in the exile during this particular period were ruled by King Ahasuerus of the kingdom of Media Persia, which encompassed 127 provinces, ranging from India to Ethiopia. The king had a huge party for his army, the princes, and the governors of the kingdom that lasted for many days. After 7 days of partying, the king ordered that his Queen Vashti, be brought to the party to show her off to everyone there, to show everybody how beautiful she was. And the queen responded, "I'm not coming to your party so you can show me off to all your drunken friends about how good I look. No way." Well, that's what she said in a nutshell. And the king became pretty upset with this, that she refused to come to his party to be shown off to, basically to his drunken friends. So the king spoke to his consultants on how to handle this. And the consultants said, "King, you need to replace her as queen, because I'll tell you what, if it gets out that the king gave her an order and the queen refused and nothing was done about it, none of our wives are going to listen to us after this. Every time we tell our wives to do something, we're going to say, well, the king ordered Vashti to do something. She said no, so why should I listen to you?" And that's what they're afraid of. So he said, you got to get rid of her, king. And he said, okay. You'll see this King Ahasuerus kind of does whatever somebody seems to suggest to him. He's like, oh, it sounds like a good idea, and he does it. He seems to follow whatever is told him. He doesn't seem to think much for himself. But anyways, so he said, okay, we'll do that. And Queen Vashti, therefore, had her title as queen removed. Young men who were attendants of the king Ahasuerus suggested to him that he should have all the beautiful young single women from across the kingdom be brought to him, so that he may choose a queen from among them. The king thought that this was a good idea, and he made it so. That's in Esther chapter 1 and Esther chapter 2, verses 1 to 4. Now at this time, there's a good Jewish man named Mordecai. He was a Jewish exile living in the Media Persian kingdom that was now ruled by King Ahasuerus. His great-grandfather was brought to this kingdom by King Nebuchadnezzar, the former king of Babylon. Now it's the Media Persian kingdom, along with many other Jews in the Babylonian exile. Mordecai was raising up a young woman named Esther. Esther's parents died when she was young. Mordecai was an older cousin of Esther, and he adopted her as his own daughter because she had no parents. Esther is a very beautiful young woman. When the king's order was sent out to bring beautiful young single women to the palace to select a new queen, Esther was brought to the palace along with many other women. Read that in Esther chapter 2, verses 5 to 11. Esther was the nicest and most beautiful of all the women brought to the king's palace. That's a good combination to have. You're beautiful and nice. Over time, she became the favorite of King Ahasuerus, and he eventually made her queen to replace Queen Vashti, who disobeyed him. Each day during a certain time, Esther's father, Mordecai, would walk in front of the palace to find out how his daughter Esther was doing and what was happening to her as queen. Esther did not tell anyone that she was Jewish or from Israeli ancestry because her father Mordecai told her not to do that. One day when Mordecai was standing at the king's gate to hear how Esther was doing that day, two of the king's servants became angry with the king and were making plans to kill him. Mordecai overheard this. Mordecai told this to his daughter, Queen Esther, who then told this to the king, what Mordecai discovered. The two men were arrested for trying to kill the king. Mordecai might have saved the king's life by what he did. That's in Esther chapter 2, verse 19 to 23. Now there is an official at this time in the kingdom named Haman. The king promoted Haman as second in charge in the kingdom behind the king. Everyone who Haman passed had to bow down to Haman under the king's orders. Mordecai would never bow down to Haman when he passed by. Mordecai said that he was Jewish, and under Jewish law, God was the only person that men should bow down to. Jewish was a name given to the people of Israel. Remember, they were captured and living in this other country at the time in an exile. Haman became very angry at Mordecai and what he was doing. He decided not only would he kill Mordecai for not bowing down to him, he would kill every Jewish person in the whole kingdom. Esther chapter 3, verses 1 to 6. This is one of the first times in the Bible we hear of a plan to conduct a Jewish genocide, but it's not the last time. It's not the last time we hear it in history. We just faced this less than 100 years ago. Haman went to the king and said, "There are a group of people living in this kingdom called the Jews. They're not following your laws and commands, and I think it would be in the best interest in the kingdom if they be destroyed." King said to Haman, do whatever you think is the right thing to do with them. Again, he seems to do whatever people suggest to him. A letter was sent out by Haman to all the officials of the kingdom that on December 13th, all the Jews in the kingdom were to be killed. Mordecai heard about this plan, and he was extremely upset. Mordecai told his daughter, Queen Esther, that Haman planned to kill all the Jewish people in the kingdom, even her, because she was Jewish. He asked Esther as queen to do something to save the Jews and herself, because she too was Jewish. And he told her, "And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" That's in Esther chapter 4, verses 14. Queen Esther sent a message to all the Jews in the kingdom to fast for 3 days and keep praying to God to save them. Queen Esther then came up with a plan to try to save her Jewish people. That's in Esther chapter 3, verses 7 to 15, and Esther chapter 4. Queen Esther went to the king and asked if a banquet could be held and to make sure that Haman was at this banquet. The king agreed. Haman was happy that he was invited to this banquet. He was later talking to his wife about it. Haman's wife reminded him that Mordecai would not bow down to him, and she suggested that a 75-foot pole be put up and Mordecai would be hanged on it at the banquet. I don't think that's a banquet I'd really want to go to. Haman agreed to this. That's Esther chapter 5. The night before the banquet, the king could not sleep. He asked that his servants read to him reports of things that happened recently in the kingdom. In the reports, he discovered that Mordecai saved his life by reporting that 2 of the king's servants were planning on killing the king. The king asked, "What was done for Mordecai for saving my life?" "Nothing," they replied. The king then called in Haman, who just had finished building the 75-foot pole to hang Mordecai. The king asked Haman, "What should be done to honor a man that I like?" Haman assumed that he was going to honor him. Haman said, "I think we should put the king's robes on the man, put him on the king's horse, put the king's crown on his head, and parade him through the city saying, 'This is what happens to a man that the king honors.'" King said, "That's a great idea. Do that all for Mordecai the Jew, because he saved my life and I want to honor him." Haman became terrified. He did all those great things for Mordecai. He put the king's robes on him, put him on a horse with the king's crown on his head, and Haman paraded Mordecai through the streets saying, "This is what happens to a man that the king honors." When this was over, Haman then ran and hid, because the king now loved Mordecai and Haman was actively trying to kill him at that moment. That's in Esther chapter 6. At the banquet, Queen Esther told the king that Haman planned not only to kill Mordecai, who saved the king's life, but he wanted to kill all the Jewish people, including her, because she was also a Jew. Well, the king became enraged at Haman. The king was told that Haman just got finished building a 75-foot pole, and he planned to hang Mordecai on it at that very banquet. The king said, "Oh, really? Well, go hang Haman on that pole that he built to kill Mordecai, who saved my life." Haman was hanged on that pole, and Mordecai and Queen Esther saved the Jews from destruction. The king stopped all the plans that Haman set to kill all the Jews on December 13th. Because Mordecai saved the king's life, he was promoted to a very powerful position in the kingdom, and he was loved by the people of the land. Read that in Esther chapter 7, 8, and 9. Well, everybody, that's it for today. I'm Michael Koch. Hope you liked it, and hope you tune in next week. Teaching the Bible is brought to you and sponsored by Michael Koch. Take care. Hi, everyone. I hope Teaching the Bible has been beneficial in your journey to learn the Bible. If you'd like to contact me, or if you'd just like to learn more about me, there's 2 places you could find me. The first is at Facebook Michael Koch business page. And if you go there, you can see a complete history of my Bible teaching activities. The second is my website, and it's all one word, teachingthebible.net. Until we meet again, I love you, God loves you, and always follow Jesus. Bye-bye, everybody.